We're back, and we are going to play the Ghost DLC. So let's get right into it. The night was incredibly still. You really couldn't ignore how silent it was. It was almost eerie. You could even hear Lizzie snoring in the next room over. It was hard to believe how much of a blur today was. Summer sure did slip right past you. You flicked through the moments like pages in a scrapbook as you laid in bed. The ones that stuck out all seemed to include your new neighbor, Cove. It was funny how he had become such a big part of your life in such a short span of time. You thought a lot about what adventures you could have tomorrow until sleep started to catch up to you. And then you heard something scrape against the window. It wasn't that uncommon for the wind to push a tree branch against the glass. Summer breezes were the worst sometimes. But the more you tried to ignore it, the louder it seemed like it became. It was like something was trying to get your attention. You lifted your head off the pillow to get a better look. Nothing was there. Nothing you could see, at least. You went back to bed. It was only your imagination. You had to investigate the mysterious sound. It's too creepy. Yes. You practically jumped out of bed and crept down the stairs to go outside. Your moms were still awake. They stayed up so late, it seemed. Luckily, they were watching TV and didn't hear the soft click of the front door opening as you slipped past. You looked around the neighborhood for a few seconds, checking over each individual house. It looked normal, but it didn't feel that way. You knew you weren't supposed to be out here right now. It was exhilarating. It made you regret your decision. It scared you. Let's do... I'm gonna say it's a little spooky. You didn't know what had come over you. If something bad happened, no one would know where you had gone, and the thought of that made your stomach tighten in fear. The ease with which you had slipped out only served to make you feel worse. Your moms didn't need to be vigilant because they had trusted you not to do exactly what you were doing. Ollie? You twitched at the sudden call, immediately calming down upon seeing Cove walking up to you. It was strange and yet also completely normal to have him appear like this right now. What are you doing? I saw you standing around in the middle of the street from my window. You weren't sleeping either? Why not? Cove turned up his lips to a smile, almost as if he were amused by the question. Because. Did you hear a weird noise? You should be in bed. Because what? I'm glad you're here. Whatever the reason is, at least you were no longer alone in the dark. Why? I heard a strange noise. You too? That's why I was up. Cove hesitated for a moment, looking down the street before his aquamarine eyes fell on you again. Did it scare you? A little. Me too. Feel better that you're here. Me too. The two of you delicately smiled at that. Cove even chuckled a bit. It was nice that you both felt the same way about things. I was kind of wondering if it was the wind, but what if it's not? What if it's a person? What if it's something that's not a person? The unsettling noise suddenly rushed through the air. Cove and you flinched. It sounds even worse than before. You were about to agree with him when the noise came yet again, tearing through the still night. The two of you rapidly looked around, trying to find the source, but to no avail. There was no sign of an answer to this puzzle. You thought that it could be anything. It had to be a ghost. Gotta be a regular reason for it. Nope, totally a ghost. Invisible, creepy thing luring children from their beds. It had to be a monster. You were torn between the curiosity of discovering what the noise really was and being scared enough to want to run straight home and hide under the bed covers. When you and Cove locked eyes, it was like speaking without words. Your mutual anxiety hadn't gone away entirely. Hey, can you tell where it's coming from?
Not really.
Really? Then we'll have to look more, somewhere else. Maybe we'll see something. Okay, let's go. You clustered together as you walked the familiar streets of your neighborhood, drawing strength from each person's presence. Shadows cut corners and angles where you didn't expect them, distorting the features you saw every day. The noise came again, shrill and hard. It set your teeth on edge and the way it ground its way through you. Cove's throat bobbed. His eyes glistened in the dim light. Stayed frozen to the spot, took a deep breath, comforted him, offered him your hand, focused ahead. We offer our hand? We hold hands? You really wanted to be there for him and wanted to show that. Your hand was left up for him to take. Cove's mouth opened wordlessly. There was a pause, but ultimately he accepted the offer. His hand was really sweaty, but it didn't bother you. You were scared too, but being able to comfort Cove was the most important thing right now. Cove shut his eyes and pressed his lips together. Your fingers locked around each other even tighter. Where did you want to check? The park, the beach, the hills behind my house. Let's go. The beach? The beach stretched out in front of you, nothing in sight along its sands no matter what way you turned. Part of you had imagined the noise as some creature of the deep, washed up on the shore and calling for aid. That theory had to be taken off the list for now. Still, you'd spent enough time on the shore to know that the real finds often required a sharp eye and careful attention. The sound screamed past your ear. You hunched up, shoulders high, as if ready to endure a blow. But the only damage was to your ears. There didn't appear to be any immediate danger, despite every bone in your body telling you that something wasn't right. You kept going forward, ran away, snuck back to your neighborhood quietly. Go forward. You couldn't stop when you had already gone so far. You had to find out what was going on. Your nerves were rattled, and you and Cove had ended up huddling together again. That had seemed to become the default response to anything scary. Then he whispered to you, "See if there's anything here." Cove began to comb the beach for clues. You followed suit. The angry wind sent grains of sand rolling across the beach like waves. You stayed clear of the water, which was rough and choppy tonight, and scoured the area for hints as to what might be happening. You saw something glint in the sand, full of promise. When you eagerly uncovered it, you found that it was just oil from a chip packet. You stowed it away with a sigh. Did you find something? Just trash. Cove shrugged and gave you a sympathetic smile. That's how it goes sometimes. You like hunting for treasures on the beach too, right? Yeah. Have you ever found anything mysterious or weird? You were expecting him to mull the question over for a bit, but Cove answered immediately. Teeth. Like a shark's tooth? You'd seen those for sale in shops, though you'd never been lucky enough to stumble across one on the beach. No, not that. People teeth. No! Yeah, you know how grown-ups sometimes don't have their own teeth any longer, and they get fake ones so they can still eat? You nodded, listening in fascinated horror. I found some. The top half. How you know it was the top half? It had the pink top of the mouth bit, like this. He opened wide and pointed at the roof of his mouth. You let out a squeal. What did you do with them? Mom took them from me. I don't know what happened to it after that. That was... still not as strange as things I've found. Right thing to do. Too bad. Think of the prank opportunities. Gross. You could have hidden them in someone's school bag or under someone's pillow. Ugh, I'd hate if someone did that to me. Once you were satisfied with nothing out of the ordinary was to be found on the beach, you had to consider your next step. Though the noise wasn't as clear as when you first stepped outside, you could still hear its shrieks rendering through the peaceful night. You decided to check the park, check hills, go back home. We checked the park. The private playground was as empty as ever. You could just about hear the mysterious sound if you were quiet, but it had simmered down a whisper. Cove was practically shaking when he realized it had progressed far enough to reach here. He swallowed hard, but faced you with a determined face. My dad says, good detective work starts at home. He watches a lot of crime shows, so maybe it would be good to look closely. Okay. The two of you swept through every corridor of the park. No monkey bar, swing, or tire went unchecked. Huh. He was squatting on the ground, squinting at something in his hand. Intrigued, he checked over his shoulder so you could see too. Cove held it out in his open palm. Coiled inside was the length of a sparkly chain, grains of sand embedded in the fine links. Lifting it up, it became apparent how this had come to be here. You'd seen bracelets and necklaces enough to recognize that the clasp which held it together had snapped. It's broken. It's silver. Werewolves hate silver. Other things too, I think. If this noise is caused by a monster. We can protect ourselves with it. What if it's not real silver? We'll just keep playing. Yeah. He flicked the chain as if cracking a tiny whip. I wonder if there's anything else we could use here. Cove considered this, frowning. I should have grabbed some garlic before I left. His frown evolved into a scowl. It probably wouldn't have worked. Dad doesn't have real garlic. He gets fake garlic? It's little flakes in a jar, not real balls you have to cut up like Mom uses. Flakes might be easier to use. It's still real garlic, just already chopped up. That can't taste as good. We won't need it anyway. I'm gonna say it's real garlic. It's just chopped up. Maybe. From his begrudging tone, you could tell that he was still firmly on the side of fresh garlic. You had exhausted all the possible places to search in the park. Straightening up, you mused over your next step. It's gone. What? Then you realized it. The noise, which had grown fainter and less frequent during your search, had died off completely. You and Cove shared puzzled looks, but neither of you had an answer for what had caused the mystery sound, or made it go away. A yawn crept up on you. All the excitement had made you forget how late it was. Let's go home. We're not going to find anything now. The night was still as you walked home. With none of the usual background noises or eerie whistle from before, you could hear every step you and Cove made like a cough in a movie theater. Two of you came to a halt outside your front door. Never before had it looked so ominous. Now to sneak back inside. Do you sneak out a lot? This is the first time. Yeah, I've never tried to do it till now. Thought so. How did you know? I hadn't seen you out of my window this late before. That was fair. Though it could have been possible you were just so good at sneaking that this was the first time he had caught you. Are you worried about getting caught? No. He was so forthright that you believed him completely. But your dad, won't he get mad or sad if he catches you? He's never happy with what I do. Oh. Sympathize, encourage Cove to see it more positively, stayed out of it. Didn't know how to react to that. We sympathize. That must be hard. Yeah, he and Mom do what they want. Why shouldn't I? Alright, I'm going in. Hey, good night. Good night, Cove. Thanks for coming with me tonight. I'm not sure I could have done it by myself. I wanted to go with you. You beamed at him. You turned the doorknob as slowly as a clock's minute hand, holding your breath for the telltale click of the lock, then nudged it open. When all that happened was the door opening, rather than the blaring alarms that you feared, you melted with relief. Back inside your house, you were surprised to find your mom still watching TV. Weirder still, it looked like they were on the same show as they were watching before you left, yet you were positive you'd been out investigating for hours. Perhaps you could use their distraction to your advantage. If you could just get up the stairs, you would be safe from suspicion. But how could you get there? Tried to sneak past, decided to walk in your house nonchalantly. You couldn't, you had to give up and come clean. We try sneak. You hugged the wall as you creeped delicately around the perimeter of the room. It was a valiant effort that any spy would have been proud of, right up until the moment when you tripped over a power cord and nearly fell over. Ollie? You might not have fallen, but the accident ruined your cover. You had been spotted. They abandoned the couch in their show to hurry over. They were still in a state of surprise. You weren't in trouble yet.
Are you okay?
What are you doing down here, sweetie? Did you have a bad dream? You lied. You couldn't bring yourself to own up to what you had done. I heard scary noises, so I came down here. Their surprise gave way to concern. Honey. Mom took you by the hand and led you up the stairs. Ugh, your hand is cold. Why didn't you come over to us? I was supposed to be in bed. Ollie, you won't ever be in trouble for coming to us when you're frightened. We'd much rather you came to us to try to solve things all by yourself. Her phrasing made you feel bad. Nervousness ate at you when you were tucked into bed. Your moms assumed that your flushing and insistence on delving under the covers was part of your fear and spoke to you softly until you calmed down enough to peep out from underneath your sheets. Once your moms had left, you turned over the night's adventures in your mind. It was still hard to believe that you'd really done it. It was harder still to believe that you'd gotten away with it. Even now, you half expected to be caught somehow. Perhaps you'd left the door ajar or trailed sand where they already swept up. You hoped that Cove had gotten home okay. Though he hadn't been worried, he was told off. Was never fun. Wriggling down deeper underneath the sheets, your thoughts turned to unsolved mystery. You and Cove had only just begun to scratch the surface of it. Maybe you'd solve it and maybe you wouldn't, but what mattered was that you'd shared the experience with each other. You were still so energized by the night's excitement that you tossed and turned in bed for some time, thinking up theories to share with Cove when you next saw him. Sleep eventually claimed you, but the adventure merely resumed in your dreams. The next morning proceeded mostly like usual, though your mom seemed to be giving extra consideration since finding you last night. You later learned Cove didn't end up in trouble for the nightly escapade, either. It was unclear whether that was because his dad chose not to punish him or if Cove got away with it. It was amazing to you that it all worked out for both of you. As for the sounds that started this all, the adults around were convinced it was nothing more than the wind. For your imaginative mind, that wasn't nearly enough. How could they accept something so simple so easily? Maybe it'd make more sense when you were grown up too. Heck, I thought it was a ghost. Oh well, we go barbecuing. You'd have been brought along to the big park today, which did an excellent job of living up to its title. The park near your house, with its lonely playground equipment, wasn't even a quarter of the size of the expanse of grass and trees that lay before you now. As it was in the next town over and too far for you to walk to by yourself, you didn't get to visit it much, and so you soaked up the environment. Another difference between this park and the one that is in your neighborhood was that this one had visitors other than you, Lizzie, Shiloh, and Cove. Today it was the busiest you'd ever seen it, thanks to a community get-together luring people in from all over the local area with the promise of barbecue and fireworks. Your family and Cove's were just two of many. What seemed like dozens of cars were parked up already when you had arrived. You saw Cove hesitate as he took in the growing gaggle of strangers. By your mommy, Lizzie bounced on the balls of her feet, barely containing her excitement. Crowd made Miss nervous. Couldn't wait for fireworks, looked forward to meeting more kids, rather have stayed home. Tummy was already rumbling for the food. Even if it was bigger, this park wasn't as special as one back home. I'm gonna say the crowd made us nervous, but you couldn't avoid coming to the event. Mommy had told you that the people running the community event weren't charging for it, but she wanted to get them something in return, which is why you'd not been allowed to touch the beautifully iced cupcakes she had carried on her lap during the drive over. It was a special treat for them. Every time the car made a turn, she clutched the box tight enough for her knuckles to strain, much to everyone else's amusement. Mr. Holden's contribution to the party, a huge pack of juice boxes, was tucked under his arm after being retrieved from the car's trunk. You bet there had been no such dramatics around that cargo getting here in one piece, but the boxes did lack the beautiful shimmer of Mommy's treasured cupcakes. Okie dokie, everyone all set? Should be. Cove, did you put sunscreen on before we left? Yeah, I always do. You don't have to tell me. Mr. Holden deflated. His attempt at caring for his sons rebuffed, but he triumphed with a smile. Good kid. I don't want you getting burned or dehydrated either. It'll be a busy day. Don't think there's going to be any risk of that second part. Mom nodded at the tables up ahead, laden with all kinds of food and drink. She was right, there was plenty to go around. The parents headed over with you, Lizzie, and Cove trailing after them. A bunch of grown-ups were clustered around there, chatting, but you were more intrigued by what was on the tables. Some of it was familiar. Chilled meat, sliced vegetables, big bags of chips, but there was a lot that you didn't recognize. Your moms had said that you weren't to touch the food until they said it was time to eat. You didn't see the harm in just taking a little. You wanted to listen to the rules. You didn't want to risk getting caught. It'd be bad if you got in trouble before the event even started. You saw that Mommy and Mr. Holden had deposited the food and drink they bought. Mommy gave the cupcakes one final word and look, and then turned to you with a smile. Since that's the topic at hand, how about we freshen up with something to drink? Yeah, that'd be great. Along with the ones out, there was a giant ice cooler on the ground, stuffed full of cans of soda, boxes of juice and milk, as well as bottles of water. You drink juice. You slurped the sweet juice through the straw until all too soon you were sucking up only air. Your little group took a break while everyone quenched their thirst. Mr. Holden smacked his lip, pantomiming enjoyment. That hit the spot, but you kids should go have fun. You can take your stuff with you and join the other kids playing games. Just don't go too far from the tables. Be keeping an eye out, so don't even think about sneaking off. We're not going to the other parts of the park today. Lizzie huffed at their comments. They did sound directed at her, but she scanned the surroundings, nodding her head toward the group of kids like a general directing to their battalion. She pointed the way. Come on, let's go over there. Cove's mouth was downturned as he looked from the parents and other adults to the new kids, clearly not favoring either option. But ultimately, he hunched his shoulders and tagged along after Lizzie. We're gonna go play with the kids. You followed after Lizzie and Cove, who were waiting for you on the outskirts of the group of parents. Hurry up. You picked up the pace, moving into a jog, but when Lizzie pelted away at full speed, you and Cove had no choice but to break out into a run. The other kids were far out in the field, still at your speed. It wasn't long until you reached them. As you approached, they turned around and greet the newcomers. Hi, I'm Lizzie. That's my little sibling, Ollie. The one with the cast is Cove. Hi. Cove simply lifted a hand in greeting. There was a chorus of hellos and names from the other kids. One of the kids looked about to be Lizzie's age or older. A couple seemed to be the same age as you and Cove, and there was one tiny little thing with his arms folded over his chest. What are you up to? The first kid, a boy with curly black hair and neon green sneakers who had introduced himself as Hayden, shrugged as he looked for the others. Not much. The second kid to pipe up, Lisa, had half of her face obscured behind the huge glasses she wore. We haven't decided yet. She glanced wistfully over her shoulder. Following her gaze, you saw the spray of water first, and heard the shriek as someone got splashed in the face before you spotted the person shooting them. Some people are playing with water guns, but there aren't any left. The smallest kid, Noah, grumbled at that. You guess that's why he was sulking. Spencer, who hadn't said much, patted his shoulder. So that's out. A new kid raced over with a glint in their eyes and her braids streaming behind her. You spotted the plastic orange pistol in her hand too late, when the trigger had already been pressed. Ah! Rude. Hey! Lizzie, who'd been caught first, was fuming. Cove wiped the water from his face. He rubbed it at your ear, trying to dislodge the water that had pooled there. Don't spray people. Watch out, he has a cast. He pushed her away. Don't spray people. You were with Lizzie. It was mean to spray people who weren't playing too. The girl simply darted off to find more victims, unaffected by your reaction. She doesn't mean anything by it. Lizzie tutted, flickering her hair out of her face. The girl not meaning anything by it didn't change the fact that she'd been sprayed. Cove looked similarly unimpressed. Lisa's face lit up as she had an idea. Hey, we should catch her. She won't be able to spray people if she's running away from everybody. Yeah. Cove nodded as the other kids murmured their interest, or lack of it, in the game. Let's do it. Doesn't sound like a good idea. Nodded along, no thanks, shook your head. I'm gonna say let's do it. Let's go get her. You joined the group of kids and tearing off after the girl with the pistol. Spotting you all over her shoulder, she laughed and shot her pistol in the air. Only a couple of drops squeezed out. She swerved, causing discord within your team as someone stood on your foot and you collided with Cove's shoulder. Sorry. Cove shot you with a smile that gave you a feeling of camaraderie. It's okay. You were closing in on the girl, but you weren't alone. Lizzie's face was set with intent, and the two older kids were hot on her heels too. We outran them easily, outran them with effort. You weren't as fast as them because they were speedy. Weren't as fast as them because you just weren't fast. Moved to the side to let them pass. You didn't want to win this race. Let's say we weren't as fast as them because they were speedy. You pushed yourself, willing your legs to move just that bit faster. You were close, just not close enough. Lisa lunged and tackled her friend to the ground. Got her! Panting, she punched the air in triumph, then pushed her glasses back up to the bridge of her nose. The girl who had been caught giggled as she got to her feet, brushing strands of grass from her knees. Smiling, Cove came to a stop at your side. Lizzie whooped with the delight. Clapping her hands, the boy with the bright sneakers grinned. You're it now. Catch us if you can. Yeah! I'll do it. You won't get away from me. With that, you all disappeared. We all dispersed, squealing and laughing as you tried to evade capture. The sour mood from earlier had evaporated entirely, replaced by a light and playful atmosphere. Several rounds later, when most of the kids had taken at least one turn as it, the scent of smoke wafted up your nose. Everything was on fire! No, I'm kidding. Caught by surprise, you looked up and found that the brilliant blue of the sky had turned orange as the sun sunk down on the horizon. With all the excitement, you lost track of time completely. Looking over, you saw people standing over the grills and poking them to life. It was nearly time to eat. We should get over there. I'm so hungry. Our parents are at different spots. Yeah. Bye, it was cool playing. Yeah, bye. Bye. You waved goodbye to the other group of kids before hurrying over to your parents with Lizzie and Cove. A tickle unfurled in your throat, growing more persistent as you came closer to the source of the smoke. As the three of you approached the tables, your parents spotted you and came to join you halfway. You tried to greet them, but another cough obstructed your words. Ugh, that's quite a cough. Are you alright, sweetie? I'm fine, no. You shook your head. I'm fine. Are you sure? No one needs to go up to the girls if they don't want to. Just let me know what you need. There were no response from the other two kids there. I can do it. You marched over to the girls. Can you get it for me? Please, could you get it for me? Let's see. I'm gonna say I can do it. Right, but tell me if it gets too much for you. The main thing being served is kebabs. You can have whatever you'd like on it. There's different meats and veggies. As you approached, you found the vast array of bits and pieces ready to be skewered and served up. We choose... Oh, heck, I want, like, lots of these things. I want beef. Ooh, we can choose a lot. And peppers. And onions. And chicken. And that's everything. Sounds good to me. The veggies will be good for you. Order given, you waited for your food to be ready. Lizzie headed towards you, having issued her own request. Hi again. I heard what you ordered. I'm getting a chicken kebab with all 3 colors of peppers. Noticing that Cove approached, she turned to him. What are you having?
Why?
Why does it matter? I don't know, I was just asking. Getting beef and shrimp with all the vegetables except onions. Lizzie hummed while evaluating his response. That's okay, I guess, but chicken is definitely the better one. Then you can eat all the chicken. I'm going to. Chicken is the worst. This is a stupid argument. Chicken is the best choice. All the chicken in the world?
No.
No, that's dumb. You know what I meant. Lizzie peered over to the grills where the kebabs were being handed out. A growing assortment of kebabs collected in your parents' hands. They're coming over. Don't get jealous of mine when you realize you made the wrong choice, Cove. Didn't make the wrong choice. There isn't a wrong choice. It's just what a kebab somebody eats. The person serving gave your mommy one final kebab, then your parents moved over to rejoin you. Between them, they were carrying 6 kebabs, one for each of you, including Cove and Mr. Holden. We've got the goods. Cove's daddy is looking for a place we can sit. In the meantime, they began passing out the kebabs to their rightful owners. Lizzie smiled smugly as she received hers. These are pretty big. Be careful not to drop it. Try not to poke yourselves with the ends either. They're sharper than you might think. Hearing that, you tentatively pushed the tip of the skewer against your finger. It felt like the point of a newly sharpened pencil. Though it didn't hurt your hand, you wouldn't want it scraping the roof of your mouth or jabbing your tongue. Mommy clucked to her tongue. It would have been nice if the options were a little easier to manage and less messy to eat, especially for smaller kids. There aren't even plates for everyone, so we could set the food down for a second. That's what you get for the price of free, but we can't hack it, right? Lizzie nodded her head vigorously, clutching her kebab like a trophy. Your parents lead you back to the tables. It was immediately evident why Mr. Holden had been sent to scout one out. The benches had quickly filled up as people got their food. Mr. Holden was standing over a corner section near the edges of the sitting area. He beckoned your group over to join him. You clambered onto the bench, taking care not to let your kebab slip from your fingers. Cove took a seat next to you. Lizzie took the other side. Mom passed the final unclaimed kebab to Mr. Holden. Thanks, this looks delicious. Thank you for getting us a space out here. Everyone tucked into their food. You gobbled it up eagerly, only partially obstructed by the awkwardness of eating from a skewer. Running around with the other kids had helped you work up an appetite. Mr. Holden, what do you do? Well, I do a lot of things. Do you play golf? Only if you count mini golf. One look at Lizzie's stricken face confirmed that she did not. She could enjoy the occasional round at a mini golf place, especially if she had an audience to impress, but your sister took her passion very seriously. Even then, it's been years since I gave it a shot. Cave groaned at the feeble pun. Mom chuckled. You weren't sure if she was responding to the joke, Cove's annoyance, or Lizzie's offense. Just as well, she'd been dragging you to the green every week. That's because I've got dedication. You need a good drive or 2 to get far. Mr. Holden nodded, clicking his tongue in appreciation. Cove looked from his father to your sister, lost in conversation. Outclassed in golf and wit. I don't get it. A drive is a type of golf shot. You should give real golf a try. Maybe I'll even teach you some tricks. Don't try to change my dad to be more like you. Lizzie gave Cove a dirty look at the accusation. Mommy felt the need to move the topic ahead before it got heated. That's really sweet of you, but I'm sure Mr. Holden is busy. You may not have time for another hobby. Yeah, I don't think I'm made for that. Still, the offer is appreciated. And tell me something you really do already. You just go away every day. I like scuba diving, though with the business, that's more work than play these days. Surfing and reading, snorkeling. Those are things Cove likes. Wow, it's a good thing you live by the beach. I'm gonna say it's good, I'm gonna say it's good that you live by the beach. Don't I know it? I have a nightmare about moving inland.
No way.
That's not a good joke. The sun had been setting when you'd got your food. By the time you'd finished, night had truly fallen. Your sticky fingers were the only remaining evidence of your meal. The kebab had been a great combination, more than the sum of its parts. Seasoning of freedom, to choose every ingredient yourself, was what made it something to remember. Rising from the table, Mommy held up her water bottle. Okay, now that the food is gone, you've got to wash your hands. Ollie, Lizzie, please hold them out. Lizzie complied, coming over and cupping her hands together in front of her. Mommy splashed some water over her fingers and Lizzie rubbed them together, working off any residue. Here. Mom passed her a paper towel from her purse, and Lizzie used it to dry off her hands. Your turn, Ollie. You readily held your hands out to catch the water. Copying Lizzie, you washed your hands, taking care to clean every crevice between your fingers before wiping them dry. Nearby Cove had taken his own course of action, wiping his hands on his pants and leaving a stain where his fingers had been. Mr. Holden shook his head. Let's clean that off, pal. He scrubbed at the fabric with a scrunched up napkin. Dad, it's not that bad. When everyone was cleaned up, or as clean as they could be, with the limited facilities, Mom spoke up. Let's go make one last check at the coolers and restock on drinks before the fireworks show. I forgot there were fireworks. No time, we have to get a good spot. Everywhere's gonna be taken. How about I go ahead and save space again? You can meet up with me in the field after getting the drinks. Then I'm going with Cove's dad. I'll find the perfect place. Okay. Sure thing. I could use an extra pair of eyes. Mommy shook her head ruefully at Lizzie's even more enthusiastic than usual attitude. Alright, me, Cliff, and Lizzie can go find a place to sit. Pam, Cove, and Ollie, do you want to go get the drinks? Okay. I'll get all the stuff we need. No, I want to help pick the spot. I don't want to get drinks. I'm just gonna nod. As Mommy, Lizzie, and Mr. Holden headed off into the wide, open field where the fireworks were being set up, you joined Cove and Mom in returning to the cooler where you'd pick up drinks earlier. Even as you approached, you suspected you wouldn't find much in it. Where it had originally been stocked to the brim, it was now half empty. The ice which had cushioned the drinks and kept them cool was largely melted, with only a handful of pieces floating like tiny icebergs. Slim pickings. The drinks that remained looked to be bottles of plain water, but you caught a glimpse of something more colorful in amongst them. Mom rummaged around in the cooler, excavating a couple of juice boxes from the bottom in the process. Aha! Ollie, Cove, can you take one of these? If you want. The perks of helping. You took a juice box to share and a water bottle for yourself. Juice box to share. Cove hesitated but decided to take a juice box for himself. But when you were each loaded up with your chosen drink plus an extra bottle or two for someone else in the group, Mom's phone started to ring. She juggled the water bottles over into the crook of her arm and looked at the caller. It's Mommy. Hold tight while I get this. Hey, hon. How's it going? Did you find our perfect spot already? She nodded along to the call, punctuated by ahas as Mommy gave her directions. Catching your eye, she gestured towards the grassy area. We've got a place. Come on, we better hurry before the show starts. You and Cove jogged after your mom, who led you through the field, and separate groups of people assembled there back to the rest of your families. Hello, we're here, and we came bringing gifts. Bringing gifts? Bearing drinks. We came bearing drinks. No, there wasn't much left. The three of you handed over the spare drinks. You held up the extra juice box. I brought this for someone. You're so thoughtful, Ollie. Despite Mommy replying pretty expectantly, there was just one person who made a claim on the sweet drink. Can I have it? Okay. Thanks, I love you, Ollie. Aw, you two are a real pair. Once everyone had been equipped with a drink for the big event, you sat on the grass beside Cove and waited for the magic to happen. Most people in the park had taken a seat now, with a few stragglers silhouetted back at the tables in the distance. A few rambunctious kids were still dashing about, but their number was steadily decreasing as their parents called them over and restored order. Someone bearing a cardboard box weaved between the groups, pausing every so often. You nudged Cove and pointed. What are they doing? It looks like they're handing something out. I can't make out what it is. Hope it's not drinks. Mommy chuckled, but Lizzie and Cove were now watching the bestower of mystery goods keenly. Are they gonna come to us too? Mommy softly put her hands on top of your sister's shoulder, as if she feared Lizzie may bolt over to the stranger. Lizzie didn't even glance at her, eyes locked on the potential prize. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You were intrigued. Studying the man with the box closely as he gradually meandered nearer, you could make out what he was handing out. It was small items to most of the groups he stopped at. They seemed too short to be water bottles, but beyond that it remained a mystery. Then the boxman made his way to your group. Evening, I'm handing out dessert. Any takers? There's dessert? Lizzie squealed, hopping off the ground. The man chuckled. Whoa! Ice cream! I'm gonna take that as a yes. Ice cream's on the menu, vanilla flavored with a twist of either chocolate or strawberry syrup. Ooh, my goodness. Those kind of look delicious. Nice. None for me though, thanks. Same, but the offer is appreciated. I want chocolate. Can I have strawberry? And a strawberry for me too, please. Now you were going to have to make a decision. Chocolate or strawberry? I'm gonna get strawberry, chocolate. Put your mom's shirt and whispered that you wanted strawberry. Put your mom's shirt, whispered you want chocolate. Didn't want either. You were lactose intolerant. Heck that. Being lactose intolerant for losers. We're going strawberry. Reaching into the box, the man brought out the requested ice creams and tossed them out. It came packaged in a little plastic cup, complete with a wooden spoon stuck to the paper lid. The condensation wet your fingers in a pleasant way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kids, are you going to thank the nice man too? There was a chorus of thanks. He cordially nodded and walked off to another group. The man couldn't spend much time with each group, considering how many he had to get to. You peeled back the tab that covered the ice cream and got right into your unexpected treat. It tasted amazing. Lizzie was definitely enjoying hers. Cove was too. Lizzie munched away happily, but it ultimately didn't succeed in monopolizing her attention. Eyes wide, she looked at her mommy and pulled on her pants. I didn't get strawberry. Can I have some of yours, please? Of course, sweetie. Lizzie cooed with excitement as Mommy presented her with a dollop of ice cream and syrup mixture. Licking her lips, Lizzie lapped it up. Mommy, come on now. Lizzie has all the ice cream she needs. She simply laughed and pinched Lizzie's cheeks, then dug her spoon in again and held it out to you. I just can't resist. Ollie, would you like some of mine? They've already got that flavor. Well, that's not the same as getting a little extra from your mom. I guess I'll accept. You ate the treat being offered, much to Mom's chagrin and Mommy's delight. Cove watched the exchange silently with a blank expression. Mom, on the other hand, shook her head, a fond smile on her face. Well, you better at least give me some, too. You could have gotten your own if you wanted ice cream. What? The kids have ice cream already, and they're getting some of yours to boot, and I have nothing. Now is when you decide to be firm. Laughing, Mommy fed some ice cream to your sulking mom. She could never actually follow through with being tough. There, all better now? Yes. Good. How about you, Cliff? Would you like some? No, I'm still okay, but thanks for keeping me in mind. Cove, it's only fair that you get the choice, too. Cove shook his head firmly, concentrating on his own cup. Mommy smiled. Okay, as long as no one's feeling left out. Mommy was always so nice to everybody. You looked over at Cove. He was digging into his ice cream, which bore the same pinkish-red twirl as yours. You want some of mine? Sharing is nice, but you weren't able to do that. You held your spoon out to him. Glancing up at you, Cove cocked his head as a curious angle. I already have that one. I want to share anyway. Cove looked around awkwardly but nodded nonetheless. You took out a bit of ice cream and held your spoon out to him. After another furtive glance, he nibbled at it. Aww. Mommy was gazing at the two of you. Her mouth was an open smile, as if she was about to say something else, but Mom tugged on her collar. Embarrass them. Cove didn't appear to hear the exchange. He took the spoon to his own ice cream, excavated some, and held it out for you to eat. And we accept. In the end, that kind of made it pointless. You each just ate the same strawberry ice cream out of a different cup. Your mom did like to say it was the thought that counted, though. Hey, if you're sharing two, I'll take some. You already asked your mom to give you some. So what? Mommy was gonna let you have a bite. You just didn't take it. You shook your head. Lizzie stuck her tongue out at both of you and turned her attention back to her own cup of ice cream. Then the first firework cut through the sky, whistling as it ascended until it hit its crescendo with an explosion. The park flashed as if alight. Squealing, Lizzie leapt to her feet, her forgotten ice cream tumbling to the ground as the firework crackled into tiny drops of glitter in the sky. It's starting! Everyone else looked up to the sky as another firework whizzed through the air. With each explosion, Lizzie would jump into the air. It was thrilling. It was impossible to tear your eyes from the scene. Loud noises hurt your ears and covered them. Kinda neat. Shrunk back, hugging your knees to your chest. I'm gonna say it was thrilling. Cove sat by his dad, captivated by the sky sparkles and flashes overhead. Mr. Holden watched the fireworks scene impassively. He did smile at you and even gave a thumbs up when he noticed you looking over. Mommy hopped to her feet, pulling Mom with her, pushing her into joining Lizzie and jumping up in tandem with every crack of fireworks. Mommy then bent down to offer you up a hand. Decided to quietly watch from the ground. Got up to join your family, beckoning for Cove to join. Cove got to his feet, tailing after you, and stood with your family. Your mom's faces lit up, literally and metaphorically, as you approached. The five of you shrieked and leapt along with the sparkles in the sky, not trying to contain your joy at experiencing the sights together. The fireworks continued, some twisting like the coil of a spring as they arched into the air, others shooting straight from the ground and shattering into a million tiny specks. Every color got its spotlight in the show, from fiery reds to eerie greens and blues that could rival the ocean. The show built up to the grand finale that boomed over the park and filled every inch of the sky, the twinkling lights representing the full spectrum of the rainbow. The exhilaration that had fueled you while the fireworks were going off was sapped dry now that the show had finished. You collapsed into a giggling heap on the ground, suddenly aware of how your legs ached from your exertion. Cove tumbled down with you, his expression gleeful. Mr. Holden watched his son with an expression much happier than the one he'd worn while watching the show. Lizzie gave a final whoop of delight and shared a high five with Mom as Mommy shouted for an encore into the night. You didn't know what that meant, but you liked the way it made Mom laugh. Though the sun had gone down long ago, the air on your bare arms was warm. You took in your giddy family, their spirits buoyed by the firework display, then your new friend and his father, who looked happy in their own, quieter way and smiled. This had been a pretty special night. Oh, so cute. We save. We save, make sure I don't accidentally have to replay anything. We have one more episode, Runaway, which makes I'm a little nervous about that, and Sleepover. I'm nervous and excited to play the next one. So I'll see you in the last childhood episode. I hope you like this so far. It's kind of cute. Nothing too crazy or, anything like that, but I think as they get older, it'll get a little more juicy, I guess. I don't know, but I'll see you in the next one. Bye.